Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to this crazy midlife crisis of mine and another video in our palette roulette series. This is number 50 and today we are going over the Viseart Sultry Muse palette. So this palette, first and foremost, is $80. I will never forget when I purchased it. I actually got it on, I want to say friendsbeauty.com, I think it was. They do this, I'll link the video up here. It's super old. It's one of the first videos on my channel. And when I first got it, I was super interested in the Viseart formula because it was raved about all over social media. It was huge. There was Stephanie, I can't remember her last name. I don't watch her quite so much anymore, but she raved about Viseart shadows, and so I needed to get a hold of some, but this website was doing buy two get two, and if you bought two of the Viseart palettes, you got two Esom eye brushes as well with it, and it was actually for a discounted price. So I got each one of these palettes for roughly $60 instead of $80, and I got two brushes as well in the same package. And I was super excited about it because I got a discount and I got two extra items, two brushes that really cost quite a bit of money, and I use those brushes still today quite extensively. They're some of my favorite brushes, but they are really spendy. So this palette has roughly a 4.6 to 4.8 star rating across all the beauty retailers that sell it, and that includes like Sephora, Beautylish, Friends Beauty, all those retailers. It is $80 for 0.84 ounces or 0.07 ounces per pan, which is a relatively large size pan. There are 12 shades in this palette, and each one is of neutral color, and each one is neutral-ish color, and each one is a shimmer or metallic formula. The whole premise to this palette is each one of these shades could be used on eyes, cheeks. Well, all of their palettes really, they're a professional product. So all of their palettes really, you can pop the pans out of each one. You can use them on multiple different places on your face. I actually use this one as a highlight quite often in during my week. I've used them all pretty much anywhere that you can place them that makes sense. So you can put them in your eyebrows, you can put them on your eyes, you can put them on your cheeks, you can dab them onto your lips. I don't think any of them are not lip safe, if I remember correctly, but so there's that. They are really true to pan shades, so when you look at them like this, they really do range the same color on your skin as they do in the pan, and I find that really nice. But I do find that there's a lot of redundancy in these palettes. I think these three shades here really perform pretty much the same on the eyes. There's not a whole lot of differentiation in their color in the shade in the pan. These worked great with or without primer. I would say they performed just as well, but they did last longer with a primer than they did without a primer. I would say probably 8 to 10 hours with a primer, probably ranging on the 6 to 8 actually without a primer. So just digging into it, probably the first thing you notice is it is an $80 palette, but the palette is really reminiscent of that you would find at the drugstore. There's no mirror, it's a see-through top, it's very simplistic. There's no shade names on this palette. I actually had to research to find the shade names. I knew that they were out there, but I had to research to find the shade names. I don't know that I'm pretty certain I still have the box, but I don't know in my stack of boxes, full of boxes, because I'm ridiculous like that. if it even includes the shade name. So I had to research that for you, but I did get that. So let's do some swatches really quick. We're going to go first row, second row, third row. That's how we're going to go. This first swatch, I'm going to try doing it on my hand because I watched a video by Spooky Lips and Fat Hips, Lacey. She did one of those like unpopular opinions videos, and in that video somebody had said swatches on your hands are better than swatches on your forearms, and so she tried it in the video and you could actually see a difference. So I'm going to try it on my hands and see if it swatches better, you know, Jeffree Star-esque. So this is Yves, I think is the name. It's YVES, and this is just a white metallic. You guys can see that. It's just a white metallic. It's a really pretty color. It does have some micro glitters in it, which really translate beautifully on the eyes and really gives you that like sequined appearance. It's super pretty. The next one here is Camille. And that is it. It is a really pretty copper brown metallic. And then we have, I think it's Kifu. It's Kifu. And that is a really pretty warm beige shimmer that I used in my brow bone all the time. It's also one that I used as a highlight on my skin, on my cheeks. And I really thought it was beautiful. Then we have Gitte, I think Gitte. And this is it right here. That is it right there. It is a really light brown shimmer. I know it looks dark brown there, but it really is a lighter brown than the other brown that's in the palette. So there's that. And then we have, I think it's called Tim. It's TYM. That is it there. It is a pink toned copper. So this one is more of like a rose gold copper, and this one is more of like a pink toned copper. Then we have Jory, and Jory is a dark brown, and it's a shimmer, but it performs very much like a satin on the eye. It was a great deepening up tone. I really liked it for deepening up any eye look. There, the next, like not the next color, but the next color after that, I used this tone to deepen it up quite a bit. It's kind of a rosy brown color, and I wanted more of a brown, but not this dark, so I used this to deepen it up. And this is, like I said, Jory. It is considered a shimmer, but it performs more like a satin. And then there's this shade here, which was one of my favorites actually in the palette. And this one's name is Cindy. It is a coral copper shimmer. Reminds me a lot of like a brand new penny, like brand new, hot off the presses penny. And that is it there. You guys will have to let me know how you like these hand swatches. Then we have Chantilly, which is described as a rosy brown. And I mean, it's really, truly a rosy colored brown. I was able to shear it out quite often and put it up into my crease. And that was the other thing that I found with this palette is I don't typically wear like shimmers all over my eye, but like today that is all I'm wearing is this palette. And shimmers, these perform so elegantly that you can put them all over your eye. If you're not into a shimmer all over your eye, these actually perform really well and don't like give you this sparkling all over eye unless you really pack them on. The next one here is called Chloe, and it is a blue silver. It is what is in my eye look today, all over the lid. And even though it kind of looks like a baby blue on my hand right now in my eye look, you see it kind of shears out to definitely a silver. It is just super, super, super pretty. It was really nice to put in the inner corner as well. The next one is called Milani. It is above that, and you can barely see that it is there, but it is a light pink metallic. It performs like a satin as well. You guys can see that shininess to it, but there's not really any glitter to it. It performs like a satin for sure. I found Milani to be that perfect shade to like blend out the hard lines of any of my like crease colors and like take it clear up into the brow bone, and it just looked so, so, so pretty. This one is, my hand was still a little bit wet, so I'm going to try that again. This one is Diana, and it is a charcoal shimmer. This is actually in the outer V of my eye look right now, and it really, dependent on what it's paired with in the palette, it comes off a little bit more blue than it does gray or black or charcoal. I think it's premised as the black in this palette, but it actually performs more gray toned, as you see, or navy, depending on what it's paired with. I feel like in my eye look today, it looks a lot more navy than I've seen it look, but I also paired it with another of the shades in the palette, and it came out really navy in tone in that look as well. And the last one in the palette, I can't even say this name. I think it's Ceska. It's Ceska, Cheska, something. And it is just a pale yellow gold tone. And I actually, it's slated as a shimmer. And I actually have this in my eye look today up in the brow bone and actually blending out the hard lines of that Diana color, the darker charcoal color in my eye look today. So my most used in the palette this week, honestly, were the black one here, or charcoal, whichever you want to call it, and this one here, which is called Kifu. I'm not even sure right now. This one, like I said, I used as a highlight on my face. I used it as a brow bone color. I used it as an inner corner quite often. I use this one as an inner corner quite often, but I didn't like really dig into this color as much as I could have. This one is really a beautiful color. I really didn't think I was going to get along with this palette. Number one, it's all shimmer. And I was like, I'm going to take my singles with me on the road this week so that I have some matte shadows that I can pair with it. And honestly, I think I used them one of the days that I was out this week. So I really didn't think I was going to get along with this palette, but I really got along well. I didn't have to use a wet brush to get the intensity from these shimmers and metallics that I wanted. They performed really well dry, just as well as wet. I think I wet my brush one time trying to use them, but it didn't look any different on the one eye than it did on the other. So I just quit wetting them because I didn't need to wet them to get the intensity that I wanted in the shimmeriness of the shade. There was little to no fallout in application, but also throughout the day, which I can appreciate. The one that I did notice a lot of fallout with was, of course, this one here, which is the darkest shade in the palette. So sometimes you will notice the darker shades falling out more so than the lighter shades, but merely because they are a dark shade and you can see that fallout physically. So I didn't really notice them, but there was a wee bit of, dustiness in the palette. That much I will say. If you look at it just from me swatching it, there's quite a bit of mess going on in that palette, and a lot of it is just the movement of the shadows, not necessarily dustiness. There wasn't a whole lot of powderiness. There was though dustiness, if that makes any sense to you. Thank you for understanding what I'm trying to tell you. Some of them didn't blend as well as others. I would say I really loved this shade here, but I will say that it also didn't want to blend at all. Camille and Geet. So this one and this one here looked the same once they were blended out on your face. But as I said earlier, there's quite a bit of redundancy in this palette. I do think that these three shades are very, very, very similar. And we could have done with like a couple other shades other than those. They also blended away to almost nothing. I think they blended away or appeared to blend away simply because of how light in tone that they were. Some of them perform much better packed on than they did blended, and those were some of them that I noticed that with. There is a consensus out on, the social medias that Viseart has the best shimmers out there or the best mattes out there. I wouldn't necessarily say that I agree with that, but what I will say, because I am, a lady in my 40s, that these shimmers look better on my eyes than some other shimmers do. And I think a lot of it is just because of the sheer ability of them to glide on without there being a whole lot of cakiness to them. Some shimmers are super crumbly and super heavy, and these definitely aren't. So I do appreciate that about these, because as I said earlier, I was able to put these shimmers on my eyes and use just this palette without thinking I needed to go in for a matte or find a matte that went well with them. And I can't say that I would do that with a lot of other shimmers. Not because I think that I'm too old for shimmers, because I definitely love me a shimmer, but because it's just my preference not to wear shimmers all over my eyes. Which is why I thought I wasn't going to get along with this palette very well, but it did. I loved it. It'll stay in my collection. I have to admit, I started this week's week not thinking I was going to come out of this with me keeping this palette. I figured it was going to go into my declutter drawer for when I do a declutter video, and it's not. It's definitely staying. As a matter of fact, it reminds me of a time when I used this palette a lot more often than I currently do, and I might pick it up more. If I could change one thing about it, I would change the fact that the packaging is a little bit bland. It's a little bit blah. If you're drawn to crazy awesome packaging, this is definitely not the palette for you. I don't necessarily need a palette to have a mirror, so that doesn't bother me. And I do kind of love the fact that I can see the tones in this without opening it up. So I do like that. But I think the packaging for $80 could be a lot better than what it is. But I get that it is professional grade and it is a product that they want you to be able to pop the pans out of and put into a magnetic palette. So maybe I just need to do that and I'd be happier with it, maybe. But I'm not unhappy with it either. So, all right, so let's pick our new palette. For those of you unaware, I do have a Samsung Note 9, and I have out of our Play Store for my cell phone system, I have a Wheel of Fortune type app that I have downloaded onto my phone. I put all of my palettes into that Wheel of Fortune, and as we use them, I take them out, and as I get new ones in, I put them in. So eventually, hopefully, we'll get through all of the palettes in my collection. However, I do know that they also have this app available on the iOS system for Apple. And I know that because the person that I took inspiration from to start this series has an iPhone and uses the same kind of app. So with that being said, it's just a little Wheel of Fortune, and to spin it, you just press the middle button there, spin for a new palette, and our new palette is going to be Morphe Nightmaster. I don't even know what palette that is. Hold on. This is it. So that's kind of funny. This is one that I received in my BoxyCharm, and it's actually one that sits on my table here that I sit at when I film, because it's one that I use actually quite often to help make a look if I'm not filling the palette. And it is this is what it looks like. It's just a really neutral, like purplish in tone palette. It does have some browns in there and some really pretty plums, and it's got like a couple of pinks here. So I got this in a BoxyCharm. I know that this was one of 4 different palettes that you could receive in that BoxyCharm. So I am okay with using this palette this week. I don't think I've dipped into the browns at all that are in this palette. I'm a little saddened by the fact that it's just kind of, you know, not really super vibrant in color, but I'm okay with it. So, and it's a palette that I use quite often, actually. So I am going to use this next week. I'll come back to you next Monday with the information that I have found myself to have about this palette. And I hope that you guys want to stick around to see that. If you do, please don't forget to like this video so that it gets a little bit of, you know, a feedback, that the YouTubes get a little bit of feedback for my video out here. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so that you are here for all the content that I'm putting out. And don't forget to hit that little bell to get some notifications so that you're notified when I do upload a video. I do upload 3 times a week, typically Monday, Wednesday, and Friday around 9 a.m. Sometimes it's earlier. Most of the time it's right at 9, but sometimes it's a little bit earlier. I'm trying to play right now with the analytics and seeing if I can figure out when I'm gonna get the best feedback for my videos. Actually, so I've been trying like uploads on different days. I've been trying uploads at different times. So I would love if you did subscribe to the channel, if you do hit that notification bell so that you're notified when I upload, because I'm kind of playing with it right now. And if you like this video, again, please give it a thumbs up. Thumbs it down if you didn't like it. That way we know what we're working with here. And thank you guys so much for watching. And until next time, bye guys.